All right. Well, here we are again. The Golden Hour Podcast, the original Golden Hour Podcast, mind you, with Eric Floberg.
Hi.
Gene.
Hey.
And Steven.
What's up?
So, yes, we are actually in person right now for the Golden Hour Podcast because Eric is in town in Nashville. And you guys can't hear this right now, but the Wii Shop channel music is playing. So yeah, I'll fade that out. But no, I just love that as an intro.
It's very fun. I was ready to like freestyle rap to it.
Such a great intro. So for those of you who don't know, which I don't think many of you don't, but Eric Floberg is an amazing filmmaker, and this is the first time we've met.
Yeah.
In fact, we haven't had much time to really even like get to know each other. Just kind of sat down and started shooting. In your hotel room in Brentwood, Tennessee.
Luxurious Brentwood.
We were trying to set up a podcast for a couple months, honestly, and like I got sick and family and just life happened. And last week I was like, "Hey, are you down to like do a show?" And then you mentioned you're gonna be in town in Nashville. I was like, "What are the odds? Let's do it." So we're doing it in person at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, we are.
What time did you guys wake up?
Couple dads. 6? 5:30.
You guys are wild. But we're coming hot off the heels of my Twitter post about Sony cameras not being sexy.
It's been a rough day for you.
Yeah. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys agree with me? Are Sony cameras sexy?
I mean, I don't know if I want to objectify cameras, but yeah, I mean, no. Yeah, I agree with you.
I also agree with you.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be allowed to talk about this right now. I'm too tired. Punchy.
But yeah, I think it's interesting how people got lit, in my comment. I was just stating a fact.
Oh, wow.
It's...
I mean, I thought I was going to be the one to bring this up in this podcast, but you're just coming in hot. You're just like, I need to tell the world that Sonys are ugly.
Here's the thing. Like, I think most cameras that are workhorses are not actually that attractive. Just like a Honda Odyssey, which is a car I drive, is not attractive. But it is wildly efficient as a dad.
Yep.
And not only that, for production, it's great. It's a tall truck.
Yes.
And
we
it's
rented
covered.
one for the documentary.
Why are you guys laughing? Is
For,
this a thing you guys talk about?
Joe's Marathon, we rented a minivan.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I'm talking to some guys here who know very much about what I'm talking about. In fact, it was very refreshing to come in here and see a lot of beautiful cameras. Gene, you have a Leica M6.
I do.
You've got a Mamiya thing.
Mm-hmm.
What's that called?
Mamiya 7.
Yeah. I mean, these are like totally factually beautiful cameras. We're shooting out a C70, which is it looks like a 1DC that was like squished down with
You really love that 1DC, don't you?
I do, yeah. I do. Did you ever use the 1DC?
No.
You never had the...
You just can't let it go.
I can't. I can't let it go because I'm...
You can hear everything right now, can't you?
It's a little gear guy.
More wind music?
No, the thing for me with the 1DC, it was a camera that came out in 2012. It was $15,000. So unobtainable.
Was it really?
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
Hey, wait,
15
what
grand.
year?
2012.
Okay, it makes sense, I guess.
It was the first camera. It was the first hybrid camera ever to shoot 4K.
Yeah.
So this was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was before the GH4, existed.
Wow.
Yeah.
And of course, Philip Bloom had one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. As he does.
And he made a video and he basically said, "This is the 5D that we always wanted." And this was during the 5D Mark II era. That was the height of the HDSLR revolution. Yeah. It was right when the C300 came out, the original C300, and the Red Scarlet, all that stuff back in 2012.
You're saying a lot of words right now.
Hey, that's the truth.
So I think it was just something that, like, because I was a young filmmaker at the time, and I was shooting on a 7D, the original 7D, and it was just so unobtainable. It was like 15 grand was just wildly out of any even imagination that I could ever own.
Yeah.
And then those cameras just plummeted in price over the years. I ended up getting one for $1,500.
Nice.
And so once I got it, it was kind of like, you meet guys all the time who are like, this car is the car I always wanted when I was a little boy, and now I'm able to afford it, and it's like that. It's like it's a camera I always wanted,
I hear you.
but it's probably not like I don't know. It's probably not attractive to other people, but it's attractive to me. In all seriousness, I think Canon, Nikon even tried it recently. They did like a retrofied kind of Nikon camera.
They did.
Sony, especially Sony, I feel like they should try to like make just a niche camera that they won't sell many of. You suck.
I'm going to assume there's another sound effect we can't hear.
No,
right
he just
now.
went to that
Dave
video
just played something.
I was
again.
They
just touched that button,
you suck. We paused it right when you said that, and they thought that's where the video ended. It was just like,
You suck.
that was the weirdest way to end that video.
Okay. In all seriousness, Eric Floberg, everyone. This is great. This is the best podcast.
Intro. Wow.
So you guys have a podcast, right?
Yes, we do.
Rally caps, yeah.
Rally cap.
We haven't
That's
posted
awesome.
on it in half a year. But
Does this inspire you guys to get back in the game? I
Yeah.
love podcasts.
Yeah,
We-
no, it's really fun.
We're talking about
we
it.
were planning on it. We are. We just
40
got a new
episodes
studio,
later.
actually. Today. We signed the lease.
Wow. Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah.
New studio.
Yeah, so we've been in the same building for about 5 years, the crew of us, at Creative Club Chicago. And
Is that your company, Creative Club?
no, it's just a collective of people who we've all co-worked together for 5 years now. Gene and I are part of the core 4 people that started it. Steven
Nice.
jumped in last year as an owner to be the 5th.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we had like a 900 square foot space for 3.5 years, and then a year and a half ago we doubled the space, moved up 2 floors. Now we have an 1,800 square foot unit and has multiple rooms, but we just have been growing at such an exponential rate, all of us, that the 3 of us actually just got a new 800 square foot studio, 1 floor above, directly a floor above.
Oh, wow.
So that's gonna be a place where we house a bunch of gear, where we get rally caps going again. And then we were just like having a huge discussion at lunch today, just potentially starting a new business altogether to fund
Wow.
all of our commercial work and all that stuff. So
Where'd you eat lunch at?
Tacos.
what was it?
Mojo.
Mojo.
Tacos.
Mojo
Oh,
tacos.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Have you guys been to Cracker Barrel before?
Yes.
Yeah,
You guys have them in Chicago, right? Or-
I think they're all over the country.
I'll tell you what. There's a lot.
we
in
didn't have them
upstate
in
New
California,
York.
really.
Oh, okay.
A lot in upstate New York.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, Cracker Barrel was founded here in Lebanon, Tennessee.
Okay.
My wife went to high school with like the granddaughter of the creator.
Okay.
And she's from that area. So like
Yeah.
it's a very Tennessee place.
Gotcha. It's like a
you know.
100-year-old restaurant.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great though. It's super fun.
Yeah, I think a lot of
I always
old
go there
people
with I go there with my grandma.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
But I will say the kids love it because there's so many things to look at and it's
Oh.
great for I Spy. So
That's why
Nice.
I love it so much.
Put that in my back pocket.
there's like a whole toy area over there too. So that's definitely not like the best cuisine in Nashville though. Like I'm like, oh, you guys are visiting Nashville? You should go to Cracker Barrel.
Nice.
And then number 2 is Waffle House for sure.
People talk about Waffle House. Oh,
Waffle House is awesome.
It's got
It was
some clout.
yeah, when I was, like 19, 20 years old, that was the thing to do. Like right now, we would be doing this podcast at Waffle House
Yep.
if it was 10 years ago.
Makes sense.
But
Let's
now
just
it's
uproot and let's go.
yeah, let's go
Right now.
let's go after this
Love a Waffle
because they're open all night. So it was the 2 a.m. place. So anyway, so tell me like, what's your like work situation here? Because you guys are here shooting a documentary,
Yeah.
which is not. Is it sort of related to your channel? Like, tell me just what the 3 of you guys do together in relation to what people may see on the internet, and then
Yeah.
beyond that.
So I mean, I've been growing my own personal brand and business for 5-6 years now. I started YouTube in 2018, and just started kind of in the wedding world, photo, video, content, education, and working side by side with Gene for 4 or 5 years. But Steven kind of cold DM'd me in 2018. Was it?
Slid into those DMs.
Yep.
Oh man, am I good at that?
Yeah.
2018.
I was shooting a
Nice.
wedding up in
Pre-COVID.
yeah. I was shooting a wedding up in upstate
Those-
New York.
Those were the days.
That's where he's from. And
Nice. Where at in upstate?
So I grew up in Albany, New York.
Okay,
Yeah, or like
cool.
a little outside of it, but yeah, that was my hometown, and I noticed that Eric was going to be about 45 minutes north of Albany. And
Nice.
I was shooting a wedding there the same weekend, so I was like, he put out a message like, hey, if anyone's around for these dates, hit me up. I was like, hey, I am around for those dates. Like, I'll hit you up. And we got a coffee together in Albany. I met him and his wife Sabria. Got coffee for like an hour and a half. Had a wonderful time. And, now I moved to Chicago.
Wow.
Because of that. So yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah.
So I'm really into running and marathoning, and I ran New York City Marathon last year, and through a funny coincidence of mutual friends, friends over at Moment, Niles and Caleb, they started a goofy podcast called Dad Strides, which I was listening to for a while. They're just hysterical. And so they had both myself and Joe on as guests for the podcast. So we kind of...
Joe
Greer. Yep.
Just for the listeners.
Yeah, that's who we're doing the documentary on.
We'll get to that.
But like I just tweeted the day before the race, just a few people tagging Joe in the tweet, just like stoked to run alongside you guys in the marathon tomorrow. He DM'd me and was like, you can be at the ferry in the morning. I was like, yeah. I was like, okay, I won't have my phone, but just like, let's look out for each other. Great. So I'm like looking for his, little beanie in the crowd. I saw him, and then we hung out for like 2 hours pre-race. And that just kind of birthed like a relationship where post-race, he had a phenomenal race, met his goal, all that good stuff. And for years...
Are you referring to Joe?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't hit my goal. But for years, I'd been wanting to do sort of a mini documentary on an athlete or a runner, specifically because I was so into running. And it just felt like opportunity, met serendipity, and we just kept chatting through DMs, and I was like, what if we did like a little mini doc on you next year about, you running the Boston Marathon since you qualified for that now, or just your next marathon attempt. And he's like, immediately was like, yeah, very down for that. And, Joe's a big deal. He's really influential in the photo world. And so I was like, that's just really cool that he is like so into it right away. So we followed up on it, and then we just kept building it and dreaming, and it just got so much bigger than we thought it would be. To the point now it's just going to be a full-length film. It's probably going to be an hour and a half long. So I needed help if it was going to be that big. So obviously I went to my closest friends that I work with frequently.
They weren't available. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
No, the first trip, like...
It's true.
The first trip, like all of Creative Club came down.
Sorry.
We had like 5 or 6 people come down to the first trip. Yep. Got to meet Joe, like see his life down here.
And he lives here in Nashville.
Yeah. So yeah, then we were just off to the races, no pun intended, from that point. And yeah, so just all year we've been
That's
on
awesome.
like a dozen trips, and it's really, really coming together, and just so much more. The whole documentary is based on him attempting to run under 2 hours and 40 minutes in the marathon, which is a 6:06 per mile pace, very fast. And so, yeah, the combination of that excitement of that world and filmmaking for me is just incredibly exciting. But
is his photography a part of that story too?
Yeah. So it's just so much more profound than that. It's a story about family. He has tons of family trauma growing up. He was adopted and lost his mother, and just like all this crazy stuff.
Wow.
So running was a huge outlet for him as a kid, and he's just kind of rekindled his relationship with running as an adult in his 30s, having not done it for about 10 years. So it's just really fascinating to have a peek into his life. He's honestly a very misunderstood person. A lot of people give him crap online for just really superficial things.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited to shed light on his own personal life and like all the stuff he's been through and the reason he is the person he is. So
that's awesome.
It's gonna be really cool. Yeah.
What's the title of the film?
We don't have one yet.
Working title. Right now it's the Joe Greer doc.
Yeah.
And just search Joe Greer on YouTube, and you'll find all sorts of great Leica videos and
but in the midst of that, Leica relaunched the M6.
Yes.
And so...
Did you shoot all that?
Yeah.
With him?
Yeah, so...
That was really nice.
We've been shooting all year with him, so we had all this crazy footage of him like shooting street photography in New York and
How long did he
Nashville.
have the new M6 for?
2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Not very long.
I mean, we watched it.
But
Did you guys like drool over it when he opened it up?
It was pretty cool. Yeah, not gonna lie.
I had no knowledge of this camera.
Yeah.
And Leica just posted their video, and I think the title of their video was simply Leica M6.
Yeah.
It was so subtle. I was like, yeah, Leica M6 is a good camera. Why are they? Yeah, okay. I click it, and then like the voiceover, and I see the like German engineers like building it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, are they? No. Wow, yes. Yeah. And then I immediately saw, I guess the piece that you made.
Yeah.
Did you edit that too?
Yeah, Steven and
Leica?
I kind of tag teamed
Dude,
that.
wild, cool.
Yeah,
this is so cool.
Yeah, we came
I'll
down.
play it right now. B-roll in the YouTube video as we're talking.
Yeah, we came down to Nashville. Yeah, it was. I mean,
I love the Broadway stuff. That was wild.
yeah,
that was really good.
I mean, we knew that it would be such a good opportunity for stuff in the future, but I don't know, more than that, it was obviously so exciting to do that and to have that opportunity, but it just felt like a really unfair advantage because we just had so much footage to work off of already for the year. So it's just, again, opportunity meeting serendipity, and just like this incredible clash of everything we've been working on. And it's cool because it's like it's sneaking a bit more of the doc footage and just kind of the quality of what that's going to be like.
Is that why that Leica? It was actually a Leica ad technically, but was there a lot of doc footage in there in addition to?
Oh yeah,
Probably 75% of it was.
Oh wow, because I was like, man, the scope of this ad is wild.
Yeah,
it's like you're going to all these different locations.
Yeah,
I was like,
he's like, he has different length hair. Like this is nuts.
Different models, different scenarios.
How long did they shoot? No, we literally shot all that footage over the course of like 6 months.
That's
so
amazing.
it was, again, very unfair advantage for us to be
Sure.
able to craft that. But we really leaned into that hard, and we wanted to make it really
amazing.
profound and cool. So
It was profound and cool.
thanks.
Great job, man. I didn't even know you were behind it. That's wild.
Yeah.
We're meeting the filmmakers behind the Leica ad. So recently you posted a video video is the wrong term, a film. You posted a short film.
Yeah.
And it really hit home for me as a dad. And I think everybody who's watching this should go watch it. On Eric Floberg's channel. It's called My Father's Son, a short film. There's also a great behind the scenes video as well that Gene did. And tell me about My Father's Son.
Yeah, I mean, it ended up being a really profound piece. More than it was just more than I really imagined it was going to be, because I've been on a music bed contract all year. Like I'm doing sponsored videos with them all year. I love Music Bed. They're my I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but they're my favorite sponsor on my channel. They're just like, they believe.
It's okay. Your other sponsors don't watch this podcast. They don't listen.
They're just so. They're so.
I don't think Storyblocks
good.
listens to this.
Oh man. Yeah. They just really believe in us as creative people and trust that we're gonna make cool and profound stuff.
Totally.
So, yeah, I mean, I was just planning on doing like 2 more videos on my contract for the year, just kind of like, yeah, we'll do some doc stuff. I'll maybe do a talking head style video with a music bed ad read in the middle, and our representatives were just like, can we just collaborate with you and Gene and do a short film? Like, can you just focus on that? And I'm like,
well, they asked you to do that?
yeah, they're like,
wow.
What if you two collaborated
Usually-
on something more special?
Usually the way it works is creators have to convince
I know.
the sponsors to do what they actually want to do.
But what's crazy is like we've been so overwhelmed and consumed with the documentary that we like a lot of the sponsored content has just unfortunately been kind of like, how do I get a video out this week? And so
Welcome to the world of YouTuber.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it becomes just a machine. You just have to pump stuff out.
Mm-hmm. And so this gave us the ability to really slow down, and we had a beginning concept of me running and Chicago in the fall, which is this year. It was gorgeous.
It was gorgeous. The saturation and the beauty of the leaves and just fall. I want to go visit now.
So I mean, I wanted,
Beautiful.
and not every year is like that, but we had a ton of rain this year, and so I really wanted to take advantage of the gorgeous fall foliage. And I'm like, I really reflected on more of who I was as a filmmaker, and I'm like, I don't like doing superficial things. So how can we really make this more of an emotive piece? Like what, so we just chewed on it for a few days. Gene and I kept meeting and being like, what are some new ideas? And so I had just rebirthed my running channel. It's just a small little side channel I've been working on. And because of that, I was looking through old hard drives, And in 2019, we were going to do a documentary on my marathon attempt that year. And because of that, I ripped a bunch of old footage from my childhood. And so I was reviewing a lot of that footage, and then I saw the footage of my dad cheering me on.
Made me want to cry.
Yeah. When I was running track in 8th grade, and it's this footage of me winning the race, and he like lost track of filming me and like went up into the trees and screaming his head off. And like I have a complicated relationship with my father, but there are moments like that that I reflect on and I think of in my relationship that are very profound, and ways that he did show up in ways, you know, that he was an incredible positive impact in my life. And so that's crazy. It's just popping up as I'm talking about it.
Yeah. What, just for the listeners who may not have seen it, what is he saying to you in that moment?
And the footage, he was just, it was crazy. Is like, it's burned into my brain. We sat in his Toyota Corolla, his 1990 Toyota Corolla before that race, because it was a 2-day track race for districts. And the day before, I lost the 800. And it was because I was too impatient and I went out too fast and I got burned in the last half. And so I got like 3rd place. And he sat me down in the car and he was just like, "You're a smarter runner than this. You're more talented than that. You need to be patient. Camp behind the people who want to go out like you did today and be patient and burn them in the last 200. And so I listened to him. It was like the first time I really listened to him. And in the mile, I just camped behind 2 guys and drafted on them the entire race. In the last 200, I burned them and won the race.
Wow.
And I think it was this full circle moment for him where he was like, wow, he actually listened to me, you know, like, and I being like that as a dad now, I'm like, man, to have that experience of your kid actually taking your advice and doing it, you know, this is so much deeper than the film.
That's amazing.
It's such a visceral memory for
Wow.
me. It's one of the most poignant memories with me and my dad. But to put it in a film like this is really special to me, and I haven't really reflected on that. So I appreciate you digging deeper on that.
Of course.
But I was just thinking, like, how do I relate this to my life? And
You got 4 kids?
yeah, 4 kids.
4 kids.
And 2 boys.
2
are
boys.
the oldest. So I had my oldest act in this film, and it was also just like a really cool full circle moment for me too, seeing him act in this, because he crushed it. Like he did. It was so wild to see him like actually do a great job acting in this.
Yeah.
And it was weird because it's kind of this meta experience of like, we're portraying this thing, but I'm actually having a cool experience filming something with my son. And
It's amazing.
yeah, I mean, it was just this full circle moment of me, you know, being distracted with my phone, not showing up for him, and my wife having this tough conversation with me, just being like, you need to show up. You need to do something. You need to grab a soccer ball, get in the backyard with him, do something. And so my character goes to the store, gets a pair of shoes, and gifts it to him, and we have this whole sequence in the backyard at golden hour, and then
The Golden Hour podcast.
great plug. So yeah,
The original.
The way it ends is I have the choice to either engage with a notification that came up on my phone or like keep interacting with him, and I choose to film him instead, and I do what my dad did to me.
That's awesome.
Putting the phone up in trees. And
he's so cute too, man. That's amazing.
So yeah, I mean the response was just so cool, and to experience it with these guys, because we were the crew that made it happen, along with my editor and employee Shua.
Love this comment. Your iPhone pan up to the tree as you watch your son in real time to match exactly how your father filmed you. Beautifully done. Incredibly warm piece, Eric. Continue to inspire us, and much love.
Man.
I'm weeping like ugly crying at work, this other guy says. Man, as a dad of 2 boys, this hit so hard. You just made hundreds of us dads cry at work today. Great work, man. Yeah. These are some really wonderful comments. And yeah, I said the same thing because I'm
sorry I didn't respond to yours.
It's fine.
I'm seeing
it's
that.
Totally fine, dude. No, gosh, you've been kind of busy. Yeah. I don't respond to everybody either. Yeah, as a father myself of 2 boys, like it just really hit home with me as well. And I'm blessed to have a really great relationship with my dad as well. So just, yeah, there's something really powerful about that. My dad is actually a filmmaker. He's a director. He does documentaries. He had a film out last year actually called Show Me the Father that he did. The Kendrick brothers produced it. And it was literally about fatherhood. And so all of this is very, big in my life personally. So it totally spoke to me. His whole film is about specifically like the importance of fathers, and there's some incredible stories in it. Go check it out. It's on Amazon Prime, I think. I don't know, but can you like explain to the audience why film photography number one, and then why Leica, and then yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I've only been shooting film seriously for 2 years now. And the Leica M6 that I own, I picked up 14 months ago. So it's still relatively new to me. But as I got further into film, one of the things that I recognized pretty early on was the experience of shooting film. Mm-hmm. And the cameras that you shoot on have a very large part in what the experience looks like. And so I think I had the benefit of having a friend, Eric, who shot on an M6 for years and years. And so I was around it for the longest time, but never saw it as a camera that I wanted to own until I started shooting film. So for me, it really started with the Pentax 645N, point and shoot film cameras. And it was inevitable at that point to get an M6.
Yeah.
It was just, like, and I got it, I think, at a good price before it got even more popular.
Yeah, I feel like COVID made it even wilder.
100%. So I think I got it still when it was a decent price. My wife doesn't know, but it was a decent price. But yeah, I mean, the user experience, the camera truly is, there's so much popularity around it for good reason. Like the user experience, the build quality, just like the internal light meter, everything is wonderful. So for me, at least, as far as being an M6 owner, I think, like people can say like, oh, you own a Leica M6. That's so like, I'm like, yeah, because it's a great camera. It's fantastic. Like, I love it. But
that's why they're making it again.
Yes, 100%. But it's a camera that I love shooting on. And I'm a huge believer in using gear that gets you excited to use it. So for me, at least, with film, kind of back to like your post about Sony's.
I know, right? That's
they're not sexy. But I think all of us, like, we just love.
That doesn't mean the pictures you take with a Sony can't be sexy. In fact,
yes,
I love their G Master lenses are amazing.
Yes,
I'm jealous of them.
Yes,
I wish Canon RF had all the lenses that Sony had.
Yeah. But film, we all shoot film, and I think that a large part of the shapings of our career thus far. Film has been a large part of that. So at least for Steven and I, this year has been a big year of shooting film. And I think we recognize not only the art in shooting film, but what it does for a photographer and just like the creative approach. And it requires so much more patience than just shooting 5,000 photos on your digital camera and then editing them an hour later.
Totally.
It just doesn't work that way. And so as far as like, shooting Leica or film,
just any film really, your gateway can be whatever it is.
Yeah.
But inevitably, if you get into it, you're going to buy a Leica. So no, I think, so I own a phone called the Light Phone. Are you familiar with that phone? Yeah. It's like an e-paper display. And, I have a really nice setup. I'm using my iPhone right now because I used it to have my GPS here, but my workflow is it's a different phone number altogether, so it's a different SIM. Verizon has a great deal. It's only $10 extra a month to have that as like an additional phone number. And so as soon as 5 o'clock hits, I put my phone into driving mode, which automatically replies to my favorites list, and it says Dave is off his iPhone. If you need him, call him on his dumb phone.
Nice.
And so I put my iPhone in a drawer, and then I pick up my dumb phone, and the only people who have that number are like my family and friends, like really just my family, like my wife, my parents, my brother, and that's it. Like really. Yep. And so it's kind of an emergency device. I can't tell you how many times, like when I'm coming off of the iPhone, I am just like sitting at the dinner table with my family, and there's like a lull, and there's like a moment, like an urge where I want to just start scrolling, and and then I think like I can't, and it's like wonderful. And the weekend for me is all light phone. So I put the phone away on Friday, at 5:00, and I don't touch my iPhone till Monday. So I'm all dumb phone all weekend, and it's such a great refresh every single week now. And I'm actually going to Japan in 3 weeks. I'm really excited about that. And I think the title, I'm gonna make a YouTube video called "I Didn't Use a Smartphone." Maybe you guys can help me with the title, but it's I went across the world without a smartphone. Is like the idea. So basically, it's like I'm gonna get like paper maps.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna like make sure I prep, and have everything in order on paper. And then I'll have the dumb phone with me as my only phone. So I'm going to go to Japan, which is like this great juxtaposition of contrast of like the most technologically advanced city in the world with this dumb phone. And so I want to sort of tell the story of like our reliance on these smartphones and the addiction we have. If I've struggled with addiction to pornography and like all sorts of, just addiction to social media. Because of the phone, just having access at all times. And so for me personally, with my personality, going to that is so crucial. And some people are like, why don't you just use the new focus modes that you can, you could go into like a home focus mode that turns off Instagram or whatever. And I'm like, unfortunately, I don't have the self-control to do that. I'm saying all this to say, I feel like film photography as professionals, all four of us here professionally make video, and these cameras that we use are like workhorses that have buttons everywhere and like do everything, and that goes for all camera companies, Sony, Canon, whatever. And yes, I just acknowledged that the only two relevant companies to mention are Canon and Sony. Hate me, Blackmagic users.
Fuji over here like
Fuji.
What?
Panasonic. Oh. No, I'm just joking. All cameras are created equal in the eyes of God. But I feel like film photography in a way is kind of what I'm saying with the smartphone, dumb phone analogy. It's like, it's the purest form of the art. I love the chemical process of it. The fact that it is a physical, tangible image. It's not ones and zeros. It's truly like, it's a painting. It's a physical, photography painting. And, I don't know. Maybe it's all superficial and whatever, but like as artists, I think we can be that in some ways. And like, it's important to pick the brush, the paintbrush that helps us tell our story best. And I can totally see why you all three love film.
I think there is something to be said about film versus digital and the fact that film is inherently limiting. And I think limitations really enhance creativity in a lot of ways. So I think that the limitations really will allow people to, I think, be more decisive in the things that they create instead of having an SD card that can hold 8,000 photos. You have a roll of 120 film or 35 millimeter film that's like 16 to 36 photos total. And also it's not like it's not uncommon that it's not unheard of that film is expensive right now. So with every time you press the shutter, you're aware of the fact that you're spending money on that photo, and it's not.
Although Gene took like 6 photos of us just sitting here. So I was like, I said,
guy.
it'd be a funny like kind of pickup line, like, "Ooh, she shoots film like digital. She burns through those shots. She got money."
But no, there's something I think really beautiful about those limitations.
Totally.
And I think it brings out the best in a lot of artists.
We hear that from filmmakers like Christopher Nolan and Tarantino and the people who are fortunate enough to actually shoot on film for motion pictures. I think if film for like video cameras were more attainable, we would. I feel like imagine how if it were as easy as it is to shoot on a 35 millimeter still camera, and affordable in that way. If it was that much money and it was that easy to shoot video film, I feel like a lot more of us would.
Totally.
But it's like wildly
That's
expensive.
even more inaccessible.
It's
Yeah.
even more
Yeah.
In fact, I was looking into doing a video titled "I Made My Grandma a Hollywood Star," and so like I asked her what her favorite movie is, and then we like go recreate that scene, and then we shoot it all on film because it would be a movie from like the 40s or whatever. And I looked into the pricing on it. It's like $10,000 just for like 10 minutes of 35 millimeter.
Yeah.
And that's, not including, somebody that knows how to use it. So,
Yeah.
and all that. So it's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for a sponsor, Music Bed. If you find any interest in that, Music Bed, please reach out to me and tell me to make a short film. I would love to do it.
On film specifically.
On
Yeah.
film. Unlike Eric, I shoot on film. On my YouTube videos.
Exclusively.
Exclusively.
Yeah.
MKBH2 shoots 8K red on his channel. We shoot 35 millimeter film on our channel.
That's what this is right now.
In fact, if you didn't notice the noise, the grain in this image, it's not from Tropic Color. It is real 35 millimeter. And that's color with a O-U-R, by the way.
It's British.
Eric, I would love to talk about YouTube because I am a YouTuber.
Yeah.
You mind picking up another beer for me?
Oh
while you're-
yeah.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna make it 19% now.
You're sitting at 150.
Yeah.
150.
Yeah.
150,000 subscribers. You've been at it for a while. One of my favorite videos that I don't know if it would be considered your breakout, but it's definitely one that I saw. I think may have been my first was the Every YouTuber Ever
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
I've shown it to a lot of my friends because we poke fun at ourselves and I'm like, have you seen this video? And so I'm gonna play it while we talk
goodness.
about it. Every YouTuber Ever. So this video has 2 million views on it.
Does it have 2 million?
Almost 1.9. The thing that I love about it is it's so relatable for all of us. I say us as the filmmaking YouTuber crowd because this is totally how all of us function. It's like you've got the aperture 300D, you've got the C200, you're shooting raw, and then you swing in the mic. All right, I just gotta let it play out. Turn on the light.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about why gear doesn't matter.
There you go. It's so simple.
Yeah.
It's 50 seconds.
Yeah. No, I had the idea. I think the day before, and I jumped in the studio. And I was like, Mike, can you help me film this thing today?
You lost it.
Yeah.
Couldn't hold it together.
Yeah, we shot it in like an hour and a half. I edited it in an hour and posted it, and it just immediately went crazy.
It was the perfect timing because I think it was really at the height of this kind of
Yeah.
like a lot of people were using that as a title of like why gear doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But then ironically shooting on like a C200 or,
Right.
a C500 Mark
Thousands of
II.
dollars.
Yeah, it's art, dude. This was that was pure art is what that was. It's a commentary on the industry.
Yeah.
It's your top video. Number 2 is not a single filmmaker ever.
Just another
Easy
meme.
rig.
Yeah.
Another meme. But obviously that's not like your whole channel is not just a bunch of filmmaking memes.
Yeah.
Tell me about just like your YouTube journey. I'm curious to hear the story. I mean, I'm looking at another one here. Church Clap 10 years ago.
Oh man.
What is
Yeah,
this?
I've made that private and then public and then private and public.
Is this a parody?
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Like a comedy?
Yeah. KB came out with a new album 10 years ago. Me and my buddy
KB.
Adam.
Dude, the Toms.
And me and my buddy Adam, he was a KB fan. He was like, yeah, let's listen to the album. So we heard this song, and we were gonna like,
Got some moves, bro.
oh gosh, it's embarrassing.
All right,
Okay.
we won't watch that anymore.
But yeah, we were gonna just leave a video on my wife's Facebook wall. She was my girlfriend at that time, and Facebook just wasn't working. Like the video just was not working on my laptop.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, I got 5D too. So we went out to the street
Heck yeah.
and we shot in 30 frames per second.
Before
And,
the 24p update.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even know what that was back then.
Well, 5D didn't ship with 24. It shipped with 30,
Really?
and then it had a firmware update later.
That might have been why.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just
They
shot
saw
that.
church clap, and they were
Well,
like,
I think people just thought that it was the official
By the way-
video.
by the way, we Gina and Steven are eating Pop-Tarts right now.
That's my
Yeah,
fault.
Dave, would you like some?
I am fasting.
Beers don't count.
Hang on.
Beer doesn't count. We all know that.
Yeah. So back then, that wasn't.
But by the way, yeah, I guess that was an inside joke pre-podcast. I have started like doing intermittent fasting,
for a week.
and I was hyped. I'm hyped about it because I saw a podcast that talked all about it with like a scientist, So
And you're gonna live longer now
I'm gonna live longer.
because you did a week of.
And
fasting.
and then of course they're like, "Oh wow, that's awesome, bro. How long you been doing it?" Like about a couple days. Can I have a beer?
Yeah.
I'm stoked about it. Follow up with me in a month. See if
If it sticks.
you guys got me on Pop-Tarts.
Yeah. Oops.
I eat Pop-Tarts
At
every
midnight.
night.
Yeah, man.
So no, seriously, tell me about the YouTube channel because you're obviously a filmmaker, photographer. Like you make money with, I would assume, client work and other things, at least throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start taking YouTube seriously, if you want to call it that?
Yeah, in 2018, I started.
What was the inspiration for you?
So my friends at Mango Street, Daniel and Rachel.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with them. They're amazing.
Yeah. They used to live in Chicago. Then they moved to LA. Now they're back in the
Oh, cool.
Chicago suburbs. I went to a random Instagram meetup, and I had been following both of them. Kind of didn't realize they were both, Instagram suggested users, and so I followed them naturally.
Oh man,
And-
old school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Suggested users.
Yeah, so funny enough, my buddy John Stouffer was one of the sponsors of this event, and I didn't really know him either. So I just kind of met these people at this event. Daniel was flying a drone at the top of a rooftop in Pilsen in Chicago, and I was kind of hovering over his shoulder. I'd never seen a drone in real life.
No pun intended.
What?
You said
hovering.
You said hovering.
And I was just kind of fanboying because he had a drone.
You suck. Sorry.
Wedding season, he was like, "Hey, we booked a wedding in Thailand. Rachel has severe food allergies, so it's impossible for her to go there. It's just not possible. Would you like to second shoot with me?" So I was in that phase of my career. I was like,
Heck
1,000,000% yes. Full watching Casey Neistat, all the early YouTube channels, and was like, you know what? This is a crazy big event.
You're watching Peter McCannon?
Yeah, gonna vlog it, So I did.
Nice.
It was my first time to LA.
Is that on here?
Yeah, it's way earlier. It was my first time to LA, and really nostalgic trip. Daniel and I went over to Hong Kong for 4 days, and then jumped over to Thailand. So I made vlogs the whole trip.
Cool.
And that buddy John Stouffer, he's a big interior photographer, he watched some of those, took me out to lunch, and was like, "Man, this is really cool what you're doing." And to have that, this is me running actually
In Thailand?
on the beach. Yeah. It was a stupid beginning. Daniel, yeah.
Freaking Thailand.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but
Cool.
just trying to start to make stuff. It was just for fun, didn't think anything of it really.
And did you have a past of just shooting weddings and
yeah.
freelance stuff?
Yeah, I started shooting weddings back in college, 2011.
Uh-huh.
And, junior high school, made tons of dumb.
So watching Casey
videos.
Neistat, you're like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
Copycatting a lot of things he did, all that stuff. And,
The secret sauce with Casey Neistat that a lot of people like myself underestimated is his incredible, first off, charisma.
Mhm.
He's a rock star, just naturally.
Yep.
So on camera, you
Flawless.
can't just become that. So he has that natural gift, and then he's also an incredible storyteller.
Mhm.
So somehow it's masked with this like handheld DIY filmmaking thing. And so as a filmmaker, you're like, oh, I can do that.
I can do that.
But then if you peel back the layers and look at like how like genius he is, it's almost impossible to like recreate. And also New York.
Yeah.
I think he's recently even discovered that. Like, and
It's
he's
his
talked
muse.
about it in his that last podcast with, I forget what it was,
I
but
need to watch that. Yeah.
it was, the title was This Guy's Relentless or something. Great podcast. I listened to it, the whole thing. It was awesome. And he talked about that. He's like, I underestimated how much of a character New York was for those
Yeah.
vlogs, because it's like a very controlled environment. But anyways, all that to say, like,
Yeah.
it was still super inspiring for a lot of us filmmakers to get on YouTube.
Yeah, because at that point we just started Creative Club, and I think we were like right around that era. And Danielle
2018.
and Rachel came back to Chicago for Christmas that year. I think it was Christmas of 2017.
Mhm.
I remember we're driving through Evanston, and Danielle's driving, Rachel's in the passenger seat. She just like turns back to me. She's just like, "You should start a channel.
Heck yeah.
Like, you should do it." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm way too busy. I shoot like 30 weddings a year. There's no way. I have 2 kids. Like, there's no shot." She's like, "Nah, you should just do it."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, at that point I was like posting on Facebook groups some of my photos, and they were like really well received. I was shooting with a tilt shift.
Did you
I
post on Vimeo ever?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Did you have a staff pick or anything like that?
No.
Did you get into the Vimeo scene? or
No,
anything?
I was not into that at all. But I was into Facebook wedding, and looks like film was a huge one
Nice
for me. And I would post,
yeah, Visco presets.
I would post, exactly. I would post like creative tilt shift portraits or
Cool.
double exposures, and a lot of people like. It felt like I was starting to become like that guy.
Are you
who-
talking about photography?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the wedding photo scene and portrait scene, and people really,
Are you a photographer first?
yes.
Oh, I
Well,
didn't know
not
that.
really. I don't know. I'm both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, really started with video, but didn't really understand video until 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
So yeah, I started really getting a lot of steam with that, and people kind of pumping me up like, these are really good, really cool. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll make a few tutorials on how I create images like this. And so like if you go back to like the most popular videos, if you go to popular tab, like the Brenizer method and double exposure, like those videos started to really pop off. Just sharing the techniques I would use for creative portraiture. People were super
Nice.
interested with those, and they hit the early algorithm, you know, back in those YouTube days.
Boca Pano.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe a little bit of Facebook helped with that too, I guess.
Yeah, I would share these videos in those groups, and they would get shared like crazy, and they would get picked up by F-Stoppers and Petapixel and
Yeah.
all these websites. I would submit them to those places.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so those videos really popped off early on.
How to make a double exposure in camera.
Yeah.
Nice hat. I like that.
But then, yeah, so that kind of kick-started. It really gave me the incentive to go after it more. I was like, oh, wow.
Well, these are pretty.
That's, you know, clearly people are resonating with this. I need to keep going. And I started, I mean, my professional career, I started as a teacher. I was in
Really?
a public school, and I taught for 3 years. So I was like, oh, well, I can use all my teaching skills to
That's amazing.
teach photo and video.
Do you see yourself as a YouTuber, like when you talk to people, or do you call yourself a filmmaker?
Yeah, it's hard because it didn't feel like my channel was that big pre-COVID, and then I wasn't around people for so long, and then now that we've been getting back into social events and stuff, I'm having to, people are like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, I started as I still am a wedding photographer and filmmaker, and then I never know really how to, it just feels so unrelatable. I don't know if that,
I'm a YouTuber.
I said,
The thing that your kid wants to be?
Yeah.
That's me.
I said it the other day to someone, and they were like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like having this conversation,
Yeah.
and like, because you probably just assume really weird things. So I don't know. I try to just keep it vague. I kind of just like, oh, I'm a photographer and filmmaker.
I think I heard on Colin and Samir's podcast recently that they were talking about, like, there was a statistic that came out that there's like 3 million creators on YouTube that make over 6 figures. So like it's becoming a real career.
Yeah.
Like
I'm in a weird place now where I'm like, for the longest time, I made a lot of educational based stuff around wedding photography and wedding filmmaking. And I started to, slowly sprinkle in finance and slowly sprinkle in more creative things like music and just like things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And my business is so diversified at this point where I'm just not reliant on YouTube. So that's wonderful. There's just all these sources and streams of income coming in from multitude of areas. And, like, I just look at YouTube now and I'm like, this is just a vehicle of my creativity now. And like, kind of, I'll have sponsored videos here and there, but it's really just a place where I'm like, what I'm excited about is what I'm going to make. And I think that's going to continue to drive what I do in the future. So yeah, it's,
I think what I was getting at, why I brought up the Kinotika thing was because like once I got into it, I realized that there is a true like crazy industry of this YouTube thing. And I started meeting these guys, like Armando Fiera and Josh Yo and Gene. And, I ended up moving to LA and kind of hanging out with all those LA guys and saying like, you make how much? And I was like, wait a minute. When I was a freelance shooter, my day rate, like if I was lucky, was $750, was like that would be wonderful to make $750 a day. And you're telling me that like I can actually have a career path that like is a snowball effect of more money, like as you go on. Not that like we do it for money, but it was just wild that I discovered that, wait a minute, YouTube is still sort of unknown to a lot of people in our kind of niche of filmmakers. It's almost even still to this day a little like frowned upon, like, oh, you're a YouTuber? Yeah. Come on, give me a break, I personally have gotten that all the time. You have beautiful fonts, so you probably don't get that as much as I did.
Steven
I'd film
gives me all the
grain.
beautiful fonts.
By the way, what is your main font? Oh, do you want to give it away?
I don't care. There's Carter's Display. Everyone asks. Carter's Display. There's Furuka.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved this one. There was a lot of it in this one.
That one is. What is that one? The swirly one.
Take your wedding photo business full time.
I never remember the
newest video
title of that one.
Or in the Chicago Loft is what I meant. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one that I love.
No, it's the swirly one.
There were some great, like when you were talking.
What is it?
This one.
No, what is it? I can't remember right now.
You got the SM7B in that too.
Wow.
This mic is the goat.
It is. It's great.
It'll come back to me.
Yeah.
There's Carter's Display. Furuka. Regards. It's
Nice.
called Regards.
Regards regular.
Yeah.
It's that one.
It's very good.
Um,
Those are the only three I use. Literally.
So-
and maybe Gotham sometimes.
Yeah, Gotham is classic. I started using that. I bought Helvetica Now, which is like the newer Helvetica or whatever, because like Ryan Trahan uses Helvetica for everything. I was like, I want to be like Ryan Trahan. But then I was like, it doesn't work for our niche because we're using cinema cameras and like the basic font with like an actual good shot doesn't look right. But his stuff is shot on an iPhone and like really gritty.
Yeah.
And so like it's so stylistically perfect for his thing, and it's clearly, if I don't know if you guys are you're familiar with Ryan Trahan.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
He like obviously has a design sense, but the beautiful thing about it is like I show it to my wife and she'd be like, what, it just looks normal. I'm like, exactly.
Yeah.
Like he's clearly a genius with his his stuff.
Absolute genius.
He spoke at, I mean, look how perfect his thumbnails are.
I know. He planned all those on the Penny series.
Yeah, the Penny series, he did 30 days across America. He made all 30 of his thumbnails before he executed the entire thing.
Doesn't make any sense.
Which is brilliant.
I don't understand how.
Well, he kind of knew where
he was going to go with each thing.
Well, he knew what like he could do to make money.
Yeah.
So he would start each day looking at his Dropbox of like all the thumbnails, and he's like, what am I going to do today? It's like, I'll just mow the lawn today. I'll use that as my thumbnail. Brilliant idea, by the way. He kind of made YouTube feel alive during that series.
Yeah, I agree.
It was the Casey Neistat era all over again with a new twist. Which was
his
really
interview
cool.
with Colin and Smear was awesome.
Yes, it's great.
Yeah.
And he did one with Hayden Hillier Smith on the Editor podcast or Editing podcast.
Yeah,
that one was really good with his editor. One of my favorite things.
Who's Ryan Levitt, right? He's a runner. His editor which I followed his running stuff before.
Well, Ryan's a runner too.
Yeah, I know. It was a really weird crossover for me. I was like,
oh, cool.
whoa, because Ryan Levitt's a very talented runner. He
Really?
like
His editor?
almost qualified for the Olympic trials.
No way.
Yeah, he's very fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I went to Vid Summit this year in LA. It was like, it's kind of like the VidCon of like YouTuber world. I mean, that doesn't make any sense because VidCon is for YouTubers, but Vid Summit is like just really for people who are actually, you know, in the industry. And he was the opening act, if you will. He gave his lecture, and I love his philosophy. He's so Ryan Trahan is he's a Christian, and he really wants to have redemptive storytelling to every piece that he does, every single video he does. So whether it's a silly little thing here or there, he's always looking for little nuggets of like, I'm going to start at this state, you know, of I'm striving for this thing that is ultimately not going to fulfill me or whatever. And then at the end, I need to have some sort of redemption to that where I learn a lesson where, you know, essentially the audience will come away feeling filled up, you know. He said it wasn't until he said it wasn't until I switched my thought process to every video I make I want to think of as a gift to my audience. He's like, it wasn't until he did that he just started blowing up. He's like, if you think of every video as a gift, like whether they like it or not, like you shouldn't feel bad about it because you're just giving somebody something. Yeah. So whether it gets 1 million views or 1,000 views or 20,000 views, the views don't matter because like as an artist, you made this thing and you're giving it to them as a gift for free. And how they accept it is how they accept it. And I love that philosophy of just like removing yourself from the performance of the video. I think as YouTubers, we can get wrapped up in the 1 out of 10, you know, that YouTube Studio will tell you like this is performing poorly compared to your last 10 videos. It's like, thanks YouTube, I appreciate that. Or the 1 out of 10, they like literally have a confetti animation. It's like, well done. It's like we're basically, you know, training you to do this over and over again for our benefit, technically. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like the Mr. Beast kind of world of YouTube right now?
Conflicted. Yeah. I mean, I watch every Mr. Beast video.
Yeah, me too.
Everyone.
And they're getting better. I think he's, like I watched Last to Take Hand Off of Jet Wins It or whatever. Same. And it was good video. He actually said recently he's had to dial down the awards because people don't believe it's real. Right. So like, and then he's also started working with YouTubers instead of random people because YouTubers are just better performers. Yeah. So like this last video was all the big British creators, I guess. Yeah,
it is. It's wired. It's wildly entertaining. It's strategic. It's cool. It's cool to see businesses. It's cool to see Beast Burger.
Made
cool
$56 million last year. Who knows what he made this year? We're almost at the end of this year.
It's cool to see him do all these separate entities. That's really inspiring to me as an entrepreneur and that side of my work and my life. But everybody trying to be him is where I get frustrated. It's just like you can take bits and pieces of things that people do, but direct copycatting or just like exclusively trying to do the strategies he does just to blow up or whatever. Like there's got to be more purpose and intentionality and philosophy in the work that you do. Yeah. And if you are relying on your business model just taking the advice of really successful people and not really understanding a foundation or core philosophy of your own business and your purpose, similar to what Ryan's talking about, I think that's what makes him very profound. That's what made his interview with Colin Smith super profound. When I heard that, it was like, this is really different than
it was super inspiring.
Like if you don't have core principles like that, I think it's going to be really hard for you to find sustainability, because a lot of times you're not going to get the same success as Mr. Beast. So like what are you really pursuing in the long run, in the long haul? And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, because that's where you see tons of YouTubers burn out and go through the cycle of like sit down, talk to camera for 10 minutes, have that video like, here guys, this is why I haven't been posting and blah, blah, blah. People don't really want to hear that. they're either coming to YouTube for entertainment or education.
Sure.
Really, at the end of the day. And so it's like, if you want to put stuff out there, then
it's getting late.
It either needs to be.
He looked at his phone. I was like, yeah, it's almost midnight.
It either needs to be education or entertainment. So like, I don't know. It's yeah. I'm indifferent to YouTube these days. Like, I'll make stuff when I want to make stuff, and I'll do my obligations when I have to. And otherwise, I'm not going to care about it all that much.
Yeah.
Like, I'm definitely obsessive about analytics too. Like, I'll check things daily for sure. I'm interested and excited about how things grow and perform, but I don't really stake my whole business and life and worth on the performance of that stuff.
And you've got multiple streams of income with the course, with your freelance stuff, with the doc that's coming out.
I'm surrounded by incredible people where, like, if everything burned to the ground, it doesn't matter. I still have work from, my friends who are doing things and they can hire me. Like, there's so many safeguards in my life where it is a constant battle. Of psychologically, you can get into a dark place where you're like, I'm failing, everything's gonna fall to pieces. In all reality, you just have to, like, talk to people, talk to my wife, talk to my friends, and come back to reality and be like, this is not the end of the world. It's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think even your last film really puts those things in perspective.
What actually matters.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's almost midnight. You guys have to wake up at like 5. So I feel like we could talk for hours, but we should probably bring it to a close.
Yeah.
Kind of the last closing thoughts. Any like words of inspiration that you would want to say to up and coming filmmakers who look up to you, who do freelance stuff, who do maybe even aspire to do YouTube stuff? Any mistakes that you've learned along the way that you would want to share? And I'd love for all three of you to share that as well.
Don't try to do too much all at once. Like, take things one step at a time. Grow a foundation. I've had a financial advisor talk to me about the concept of having a golden goose. If you have a financial golden goose, like, don't abandon that thing. If you find success in one thing, and for me, when I started, it was wedding photography, wedding filmmaking, something that made me thousands of dollars every weekend. And I was like, I'm going to stick on this for a while because that is a really, really good revenue stream. And I didn't, even though, like, at times I didn't want to do it, I kept sustaining it and finding ways to make it sustainable by having associates, shooting less and charging more. But never, like, and still to this day, I'm still shooting weddings and I do really enjoy it with the philosophy that I have. But that allows me to now have continual education in that space, to relate to those people in that industry, and to continue to diversify off of that foundation. And so my advice is, like, don't try to do 5 things right away. Try to do one thing really well, find success in it. Once you find a sustainable amount of success where you have steady income doing it, branch out into the next thing and test it.
Yeah.
It might be risky to do it, but you have that foundation, the golden goose that you're relying on. And then if you find success in that second thing, find how to make that thing sustainable, move to the next thing. And, I've been doing that for 10 years now, and I have a dozen sources of income, and I don't feel overwhelmed because of the systems I put into place and longevity and sustainability of every single aspect of those stair-stepping moves. So a lot of that takes self-awareness too. Like, really look at yourself in the mirror and compare yourself to others in a healthy way, not in a way that is going to make you feel bad about yourself, but like, how can I do what they're doing or similar to what they're doing? Or how can I come alongside them, help them, or ask them how they do that? Apply it to your own life and keep doing those stair-stepping moves. Or just have a simple life and not do that. Like, have a salary paying job and live a simple life and be okay with that. Like, I'm not that person. That's not my personality. And I found success in doing the stair-stepping thing. There's so many people that I'm so jealous of a lot of times that just have a very simple life. Yeah. And make 70 grand a year and, like, don't spend a ton of money on stuff and aren't frivolous on their, their travel or whatever. And yeah, I mean, they're like, I don't know.
No, I agree. My wife, sometimes I'll tell her, like, you would have been better off just marrying like a banker, honestly. a guy who went to his job, hated it, came home, and was thrilled to be home.
Yeah.
Whereas like it's hard for me to turn off my brain. I have to get a dumb phone to turn it off, you know? So, Gene, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, a couple things that come to mind for me. One, Eric started his YouTube channel way before we did. And I remember being in the studio for years, and Eric's like, you guys have to do this. You have to do this. And we're like, what are you talking about? We're shooting weddings right now. Why would we make YouTube videos for like nothing? And
yeah,
I think fast forwarding all these years, and Steven and I starting channels as well, the realization of just starting is a big step. And then once you start just being consistent, and I think like...
What's your channel, Gene?
It's just Gene Yoon. I think Eric and I make a lot of similar content as far as like filmmaking, photography, film photography, education. And I think starting is half the battle.
Boom, baby. You got a sub.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Nice.
Awesome. Everybody check it out.
Thank you.
Your BTS video, I watched that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to make. But I think the other thing is surrounding yourself with people who will spur you forward. And I think that's the thing that I'm so fortunate to have with these guys. Not only with the stuff that we've made for Joe this year as far as the documentary, but YouTube and filmmaking and just wedding stuff. Just finding people who are like-minded, who are creative, who hold you accountable, I think is a very big thing. And you know, I tell people outside of our niche, outside of our world of photography or filmmaking, there's no way that my life, my career would look this way right now without the people around me in the studio with these guys. And so I think finding people who to do alongside is a big thing. That's really helped me a lot. So
absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't do it either without Connor and Malachi, the guys that are working with me. So Steven, what's your channel?
Similar to Gene, it's just my name, Steven Schultz, StevenSchultz.
We'll link all these in the show notes and in the description of the video.
Yeah,
I watched this video 2 days ago. The new Leica M6.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that one popped up on my homepage.
Hey, I love to hear that. That's very cool.
Dude,
that was a fun one. So,
heck yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, similar.
Is that your house?
I wish it's Eric's condo.
Oh,
I
nice.
broke into it.
I was like, it looks like an Airbnb or something.
The same day I did my most recent video, we both shot.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's cool. You got like a Matti and Pete kind of situation here. Matti, we got the Matti and the Chris Howe and the Matti of the Peter McKinnon situation.
Hey, we talked to Chris on Rally Caps.
Chris is on.
Dude, Chris is crushing it right now.
My Matti impression.
Do it.
Oh, wow, this Sony is so incredible. Wow, you should see the megapixels on this sensor.
We love you, Matti. Dude, that is pretty spot on.
It's really
honestly.
good.
It is good.
Wow.
There's like a slight accent there with the finish. Yeah,
Just a sprinkle of finish in there. Yeah.
that's wonderful. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Steven.
No, I mean, similar to what Gene was talking about as far as starting YouTube and everything, I think recently I've been talking with more friends one-on-one who are interested in kind of breaking into YouTube a little bit. And I think the big thing for me outside of the power of actually being on YouTube is actually the passive benefits of YouTube. I think the process of creating a video that provides value to people is really powerful, and you learn how to be a better communicator, a better writer, a better editor, and ultimately just a better artist in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That it's kind of outside of the actual like delivered video that gets published online. And there's a lot of really good ways that you can grow just as a person and as an artist, and like
multiple disciplines that I think is really, really valuable that you can take outside of making YouTube videos specifically. You can become a better script writer for a different project. You become a better editor for a project, a better DP for a project, and so on and so forth. So I think just the habit of making videos consistently, whether that's alone or with a team of people, provides you so many passive benefits that you can then leverage to grow in other ways, and then use on different projects that are different client projects or passion projects or whatever that is. So I think just anyone who is considering and like on the fence of doing it, whether that's out of fear because they don't want to hear their own voice while they're editing or talking on camera because it feels scary or whatever it is, like just push through that, because there's a lot of ways that it will benefit you outside of what you may expect. And I think that is honestly maybe some of the best areas of growth that comes from putting yourself out there on YouTube.
Totally.
Yeah.
Wow. Wonderful way to wrap it up with a bow there, Steven. I do want to end on the documentary note with Joe. Can you give us any little nuggets of details about that? I mean, obviously you're here shooting it, so we're still in production.
Yeah.
People who are listening may be excited to hear about when this thing is coming out, or like just news about it. Is there, are you guys talking about it on your social media and stuff, or like?
Yeah, we've been just hinting at it a whole lot. We really don't want to we don't really want to share too much because we don't have everything
You haven't edited
squared
yet.
away.
Yeah.
We haven't edited anything yet. And a lot of people think we're crazy for that, but really the pinnacle of the whole thing is his race in 2.5 weeks. So
Which is where?
Sacramento.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we're flying 6 people out, and then other people are just
Wow.
literally showing up and filming for us and with us, and
Cool.
it's gonna be a really, really fun event, and just very intense and cool. But that's the superficial climax of the film, is like, is he gonna do it or not? Is he gonna go sub 240 or not? And whether he does or not is not going to impact the weight and power of the message we share in this film. It can't be, like, it really can't be, because you can't rely on him actually doing the thing. That's too much pressure for one person.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, it's much more about, like, we went to Florida in September and revisited his whole childhood, and went to his hometown of like 1,000 people. And
Where's he from?
From Inglis, Florida. Just tiny little place on the west side of the state.
Wow.
We drove 2.5 hours. We drove 9 hours that day round trip from St. Augustine all the way down and back, and we interviewed his high school teammate on the track team in the bleachers at his high school. Like, it was wild. We ran into his father, who he hasn't talked to in 2 years.
Just ran into him?
We didn't. No, we literally, like, my editor Josh was shooting on 7200 out the window and caught footage of him doing work on his property, and he waved at the camera, like, crazy stuff.
Wow.
We still don't know if we want to put that in the film, honestly. Like, it's a bit dicey, because, like, yeah, that's, again, like, not to get into too much detail on all of that family stuff, but all of that is at play in this. And on that trip, he dissected all of that, and he dissected all of it in his book that he came out with this year, called The Lay of the Land. And yeah, so I mean, it's going to culminate in that. We're going to do a couple more shoots, 1 or 2 more post-race, and then we're going to be just in the editing cave and really just figuring that out and figuring out distribution. And right now we have a plan of releasing it probably summertime of 2023, and it's looking like for 2 to 3 months we'll be streaming it for $1 to stream, and having an open tip jar as well, to try to just be a base place to recoup all of the money we've put in. By the end of this, I personally have been bankrolling all of it, and will have spent around $50,000 on production. There are a few other options of brands coming in to potentially cover that production cost, either for equity in the profit, if we make profit, or other things like stock footage or whatever.
Sure. Or Leica ads.
Well, tonight we had dinner with him, and we were just talking about doing in-person showings, So a rough idea now is to have a
Oh, that's great. His fans would love that.
yeah. So we would have a Chicago showing. We would have a New York, a Nashville, and a West Coast, probably LA. That's the
Sweet.
rough idea right now.
Count me in for the Nashville one.
For sure.
I'll see
Yeah,
you there.
but he's connected to people like he
Better
went on,
finish that edit.
he went on tour with Leon. he was a tour photographer for Leon Bridges. And so tonight he was just like, oh, we can have an after party and Leon could perform and whatever. And we're like, what?
Holy,
We're just like,
nice.
stuff like that.
Cool.
So all that's exciting. But really we want to have those premieres first, really get the hype going.
Yeah.
And then release it to the public for the $1 download. And then after that, either if
Did you do festivals and all that stuff?
no,
or-
I don't think so.
Okay, just
Um,
go straight to VOD.
Yeah, because we're going to be distributing a bunch of other digital assets with the film. We're probably going to make a course on how we shot this whole thing,
Oh,
how
cool.
someone can do their own documentary. The price point we're thinking for that is like only $79, just a really approachable price
Nice.
to like just let people into the fold of like how this thing was made and how it's possible for other people. But Joel will be selling his book. We'll have merch. We'll probably have a photo book for all the film photography we shot throughout the whole process of the year. Just a lot of fun stuff.
It's amazing. This kind of like a big kind of screw you to the industry
Yeah.
and like the way that it works, because you both have your own audience of people that essentially will fund the film through either your course or his stuff.
Yep.
Like, it's an amazing time that we live in as creators to be able
exciting.
to just do this.
And in the midst of that, some huge place might want to buy
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's on the table as well. But Steven and I were having talks on the way down here. We're like, that number has to be really something we have to be comfortable with, and it has to be more than what we would project to make with all these other assets.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's actually really powerful what we could potentially make with all these assets in
Exactly.
perpetuity over time forever.
Totally.
Because after 2-3 months, we might just make it public. Like
Yeah.
put it on my channel, full movie on my channel,
Mhm.
but it's just linked to the website for all these other digital assets that people can buy.
Totally.
Um,
Brilliant.
and for years, that would just have passive revenue coming in.
I love it.
So, yeah, I lean more towards that. I'm
Yeah.
always just kind of a person that says screw you to the system. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my own thing and carve my own path.
Totally.
And I think we're kind of geared that way, and the untraditional approach to a lot of the stuff we do. So
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
Everybody go subscribe to Eric's channel and keep notifications on for, I guess, summer of next year, or maybe winter when it's public. But go spend that $1 on the VOD and go to the in-person. I'll be there. You can count me in. I'll have my new M6 with me. And because it's actually a beautiful camera, unlike Sony cameras. So
Full circle.
yeah, we started with that, and then we went that.
yeah. I just want to just like close it up with like it is weird. Like, it's not weird, it's just like, because I truly love YouTube and just the art of YouTube. Like I see like Ryan, and I want to do what he's doing. So like I have zero ambition of anything outside of YouTube. Like I actually want to be a YouTuber. So I'm inspired to hear all your like viewpoints on it, and I think hopefully people who are listening can really relate to it, because there's just so many routes that you can take. There's no specific way to go about it. I have a lot of friends who are full-time YouTubers, and they don't do any client work, and they just review cameras, and that's it, and they make really good money doing it. And we call each other and we like talk about yeah, that camera won't get 6-figure views on that one, or it's like, like we're thinking about it like a game almost. And it's like, I can just tell you, I'm sick of that world with the camera gear stuff. I think it's kind of become a little diluted, to be honest, because there's so many people doing it now.
Oh yeah.
So now's the time, if you're an artist and like you call yourself a filmmaker, now's the time to do what Eric's doing, what you guys are doing, like actually making stuff that matters with story. I think Ryan Trahan is a great case study for all of us, because he clearly took what is working on YouTube with good thumbnails, good titles, and just good overall story, but then applied it in a YouTube format, and it worked really well for Ryan, and he blew up like crazy this year. And then even MrBeast, in a way, like I think he's trying to like include more story. I know he's working with Hayden Hillier-Smith, who is very story focused. And he is trying to add more, but like I've heard interviews with MrBeast and he's so scientific that he's like, I don't care about story. That's like a retention killer. Like, you know, but then Hayden's viewpoint is, but good storytelling is good retention. So there's like the flip of that, like at a certain point as an artist to think like, if this one piece in the story is crucial to the narrative, like regardless of the retention of the video, like you should keep it in, because as an artist, why on earth would you determine what you're going to put in there with like numbers? That's stupid. So but then it's kind of like, well, yes, but what if you flipped it on its head and like came up with stories that fit within the math as well? And so I think we're just going to see a lot of interesting new stuff over the years that blends this kind of modern YouTube formula that MrBeast and Eric and Ryan have figured out with good actual filmmakers too. Like, but then again, I think Ryan is a good storyteller. Like, I think he is a good filmmaker.
Yep.
It's intentionally DIY, which is beautiful in its own way. But anyways, we've been talking for like almost 2 hours. It's midnight. You guys got to wake up super early. And my kids are going to wake me up at 6:30. So we should probably end this podcast. Everybody go check out all their channels linked in the description and in the show notes. Thank you guys, seriously, for doing this. This was awesome. We pretty much did this almost cold. Like I just walked in and we did this. So this was also just a good way to meet you guys.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate this fun little podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Golden Hour Podcast, the original. The reason I keep saying that is because like a really popular comedy podcast changed their name to the Golden Hour Podcast. They have like millions of listeners.
What?
So hi every new subscriber to the show. So yeah, just remember where the original Golden Hour Podcast came from. So yeah, thanks again guys for being here. We will see you next week. I'm Dave Mays. This is the Golden Hour Podcast. Bye bye.